In our politics lead, this Thursday marks the sobering one-year anniversary of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. That deadly insurrection and its aftermath remain a huge focus here in Washington, D.C., both at the Justice Department and on Capitol Hill with the work of the House January 6th Select Committee. CNN senior data reporter Harry Enten joins us now live to discuss. And Harry, nearly a full year has passed, and it's stunning. So many people still share the false belief of the January 6th rioters that Trump won the election. He did not win the election. What do the latest polls have to say?
I think the word you're looking for is maybe insane. I think that's the word. Look, if you ask people whether they think Biden was legitimately elected, you look among Republicans, look at this, believe that Biden's election wasn't legitimate, 71%. That's barely changed from where it was a year ago when it was 73%. Overall, I should point out, it's just 33% of Americans who believe Biden's victory was not legitimate. But that Republican number to me is quite concerning. And if we look back over time, right, I mean, look back at the last few elections and basically say, OK, do you have no confidence at all that the election was conducted accurately? Look at that number for the 2020 election among the losing candidates party, 63%. That is out of this world. And no other election on that slide, you see, was it more than 11%. So clearly there's something distinct going on in this past election with so many Republicans believing that it was not a legitimate election, which it clearly was.
Oh, Donald Trump lying about it and the Republican Party acquiescing with his lies. How do Americans in general, not just Republicans, Americans in general, view what happened on January 6th?
Look, again, it's just this big divide between Republicans and everybody else. 59% of Trump voters say that the January 6th rioters were defending freedom. Just 17% of them called it an insurrection. Most Americans, however, believe it was, in fact, an insurrection. But, I think what's so interesting here is how they view the January 6th protesters themselves. And essentially, if you say, OK, were these January 6th protesters Trump supporters? Or were they perhaps left-leaning pretend Trump supporters? This is an idea that's been floated out there, which is, of course, lunacy. Among Trump voters, look at that. 45% of them believe that, in fact, these were pretend Trump supporters. Fortunately, most people overall, in fact, believe that the folks on January 6th were Trump supporters, which they actually were. So there are still a lot of Americans who believe in the truth, at least.
It's just absolutely disgraceful. I mean, it's just such a testament to the MAGA media and MAGA politicians just acquiescing, supplicating to this lie. What do Americans have to think about future elections?
What they say is that they expect that there's going to be potential violence in future elections. And this is something that actually Trump voters, Biden voters, and overall agree upon. In future presidential elections, will the losing side concede peacefully? Just 38% of voters overall say that, yes, they will. Look at that. Violence over losing? Look at that. 62% believe that there'll be violence over losing in future presidential elections. And Biden voters and Trump voters overwhelmingly agree on that. And, the thing when we're looking ahead to the future is, I think we're basically going to get perhaps the same equation, if not a closer election potentially in 2024 than we had this past time around. Because if you look at the 2024 polls at this particular point, what do you see? You see that Biden and Trump are neck and neck in those polls at this particular point. Look at that. 46% for Biden versus 45% for Trump. If you look back 4 years ago at this point, Biden was running away with it. Right now, voters are very willing to give Trump a chance, despite what happened on January 6th, and despite the fact that a lot of voters feel that Trump is responsible for what happened then.
So, and Harry, I mean, we should say, people saying that they think there's going to be violence doesn't mean that they support violence. I mean, there are a lot of people who might think that there's going to be violence who oppose it. They're afraid of it. What about voters who say that violence is sometimes justified?
Crazy. Look at this. 34%, in fact, say that it is justified sometimes in an ABC News Washington Post poll. And nearly 40% of Trump supporters actually believe that. Biden supporters, only 20% do. But the fact is that a third of the public believes that violence is sometimes justified. That's crazy.
Absolutely insane. Very disturbing. Harry Enten, thanks. Good to see you again. Happy New Year.
Nice to see you.
This Thursday.